Alright, starting very strong with Caleb. Now, Caleb is a character that I honestly don't think I hate as much as I used to. Because, I don't know, I feel like I do think he gets a lot of, like, what's the word? Sorry, I don't know what the phrase is. I think he gets a lot of bad rep. Is that the correct term? And I feel like he doesn't deserve it that much. I mean, it's more of the way the writers handled him that I dislike about him than his actual character. For that, I'll put him in C because if I'm basing it on likability, which most of this video will be basing the characters on their likability, then I would say he's actually quite a enjoyable character when he's not attached to Priya, if that makes sense. But it's very difficult to make that judgment because of how much his story and arc is tied to Priya. I worded that really weird, but I hope you get what I mean. With that being said, I feel like Caleb should have, if the writers wanted to have their cake and eat it too, if that makes sense, they should have not kind of switched up halfway through the season and go from making Caleb a mostly antagonistic character who was willing to use his charm to lure Priya into her alliance, to an extent knowing that she had feelings for him. And then he turned into a character who, for some reason, was a complete idiot and didn't know, even though it was established that he did know. It was very strange. And I talk a bit more about this in my Priya analysis video that I'm working on, that I said I've been working on for ages, but I haven't gotten around to actually recording it yet, which isn't great. But I have been working on it, so it's gonna eventually be here. I can't say how long it will take, but it will eventually be here. Ultimately, I do feel kind of bad in the sense that I feel like his character gets a lot of bad rep, and personality-wise, he actually was quite enjoyable in the first few episodes. I think a lot of characters towards the end of season 2 get butchered, and that includes my favorite Julia, who I will be talking about in a bit. I wouldn't put him in D because I don't hate him as much as I used to, but ultimately he was butchered by the writers and any potential he could have had. I feel like it was just squashed. It's quite unfortunate, but hopefully season 3 could do a turnaround for his character. I don't think any of these characters were ruined beyond repair, and I hammered this point home especially for Priya and how she was handled, because even if it was poor how she was handled, I don't think she's far past redemption. And I think the writers aren't far past redemption either. I think it's very easy to redeem these characters, and I think Caleb can easily be redeemable. I want them to find one path for Caleb and just stick to it. It was obvious that they couldn't really make up their mind with what they wanted to do with Caleb, and that showed on screen, and it became evident halfway through the season when that very blunt switch up happened. I think it was very clear there. The writers kind of either lost track or forgot that Caleb was originally kind of antagonistic, or I don't know if it was intentional where they wanted to be like a plot twist. I have no idea, but it was very jarring. And the middle of the season and the end of the season, Caleb, and the beginning of the season to Caleb are two very different characters. And because of that, I don't think I can put Caleb higher than a C. But ultimately, I do think he did have a strong start at the beginning of the season. He was a strong player. But unfortunately, because the writers wanted to make Caleb and Priya a thing, that it actually ended up butchering both characters. It wasn't beneficial for either of these characters to get together. And character assassination, this ship, Prelude caused one of the worst character assassinations I have ever seen in the history of Total Drama Island. You can fight me on this, but I'm pretty stubborn with my belief on that. But I don't think there's much else to say other than that for Caleb. Alright, next up is Damien. Damien, I actually, in terms of likability, I'd probably put him in A. Unfortunately, and this isn't just unique to Damien, but it's also other characters too, who, because Julia and Priya are writers' pets, who the writers want to keep around for a really long time, despite the fact that there's an obvious attempt to give characters who didn't make it far in the last season have more spotlight this season, I see that obvious attempt, because they were so keen on keeping Priya and Julia around. Other characters' developments kind of get hindered. And I'm saying this as a massive fan of Julia. I feel like she should have gone out in the pre-merge. I feel like Damien, unfortunately, didn't get to do as much as, Julia and Priya, because the writers obviously had everything with them, so Damien didn't get to do much. But, I don't know, I don't think he has to do too much. I still like him regardless. So I'm going to put him in B. I really did enjoy Damien, but I feel bad to say this. He didn't really stand out to me. Again, it is mostly, if not entirely, because other characters got more spotlight, and season 1 had Damien be just this kind of like Dave-ish character, like nominating himself to get off the island because he doesn't want to be there anymore. And then at the very last minute, he wants to stay, and then he gets voted off, and that's a whole gag. Comes back next season, and we get to learn some new things about Damien, like him being a bit of a nerd, and seeing a more nerdy side to him. And he wins a challenge, which I think is really great for him. But unfortunately, Damien doesn't get that much when in comparison to characters like Julia and Priya when it comes to arcs and developments. I know in the beginning of the season he's mad at Millie because Millie pushes him down the 4-point slide, and that, whilst it does leave them to win, it severely hurts Damien. And then he's mad at Millie, but then quickly forgives Millie, and then that's done. And then he has the arc of trying to like keep his idol safe, and then off-screen Julia steals it, which I think is absolutely stupid, and I'm not unique in that belief. And ultimately, like many other characters, his development is butchered as a consequence of Julia and Priya being brightest pets. That is just how it is. Ultimately, I did like Damien, but unfortunately, I don't think I could put him higher because, again, I like him in terms of likability. He has a nice personality, enjoyable character to watch, but other than that, he didn't really stand out to me. But I do, similar to Caleb, hope we get to see more of him. I have already talked a bit about Julia, and she's up next, so I think it is good that we're doing her and Damien back to back. I really like Julia. Likability-wise, she's an S. Very, very likable, which is strange because she's supposed to be a very immoral, bad character, almost annoying. Season 1, she has her own influencer, moon goddess Nick, and then she's revealed to be a horrible person, and it's very enjoyable to watch. Obviously, I wish they kind of played out the period of her trying to hide it for longer before she gets exposed. I'm not sure how that would actually pan out. Maybe MK could decide to blackmail Julia with the footage, and then there's a bit of rivalry there, and then maybe Julia has to vote with MK or whatever MK wants her to do. That could be a possibility, and then maybe they could grow closer in, like, as they continue to work together in season 1, and MK wouldn't have had to be eliminated so early. Or, I mean, eventually she would get exposed, so maybe not, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of people say this about MK and Julia quickly forgiving each other in the beginning of season 2, and I had this question too. I actually tweeted about this, and I remember seeing this tweet in response to mine talking about how ultimately the girls didn't care and they recognized it was the game. Game recognizes game, right? So they probably didn't hold it against each other. But MK seemed pretty angry when she got eliminated, but hey, I just wish that it was explained, maybe. In a confessional, MK could have said, you know, I don't care about last season. Maybe she could have said it to Julia, hey, about last season, and Julia's like, it's fine. I hope that the writers did consider writing that. I know there's actually been a lot of leaks coming out recently for the original draft of the reboot, the one with Christian Potenza voicing Chris. And that's been really enjoyable to watch, actually. I recommend you guys go watch it. I might link it down in the description. Hopefully future editor Hannah will put a pop-up on the screen of the videos that I've been watching of the original draft. I really do enjoy watching that. I feel like all the characters in that original draft are just so much more realistic, and I don't know, they just feel more down to earth. Do you get what I mean? Like, I feel like all the characters are just much more down to earth in the original drafts compared to what was actually released. I really did enjoy Julia. I think she's a likable character. I feel bad about doing this because, again, I know Julia is ultimately the writer's pet, so she gets a much more upper hand than the other characters. I wish that they kind of focused on her being like a bad social player, because they did in season 1. They acknowledged that she was a bad social player. She couldn't convince people like Priya and Millie to work with her because, you know, they knew that she was a horrible person, right? So they're like, yeah, you can get lost. And I wish they kind of leaned into that in season 2, because I like the contrast between Bowie being the antagonist who's much more social and like manipulative, whereas Julia is just brutal. But ultimately, I did really enjoy Julia. Obviously, I do want her to go out quite early, but not too early. Like maybe a bit before pre-merge, a bit before merge. Sorry. Really enjoyed the character. She's quite funny. I wish they'd lean more into the quote-unquote dumb influencer disingenuous. I know they did, but I feel like they tried to make her more smarter and manipulative in the second season. But other characters kind of get derailed in a sense because of it. They dumbed down Priya very much. Like, they really dumbed Priya down in the second season to make Julia seem much more sneaky and conniving. And it doesn't work. It's very inconsistent with Priya. Priya is literally a character whose whole archetype is being raised to be good at the show. It doesn't make sense to me how she wouldn't be able to see through Julia's whole shenanigans when she already has in the first season. So why wouldn't she in the second season? Who knows? I don't know what the writers intentions were. I know I tried to be empathetic in the sense that I know there were a lot of things that were taken out. I've seen the original Christian Pretender draft, and I like that a lot more. Ultimately, I am going to judge it based on what we actually have access to and not what was taken out, because that's what they made the decision to ultimately release. So who knows? Maybe they were like. There's a lot of things that had to get taken out, like Julia's off-screen antics in season 2, that ultimately, when it came to stealing Damien's idol or writing Michelle the fake contract, those were really good antics, but we never got to see them. If you don't know anything about me, you should know that MK is one of my most favorite characters, at least right now, of all time. In all the shows I've seen and stuff. She's probably my most favorite character, and I've seen a lot of shows. Now, I don't know what impression you want to have of me based on that. Probably not a great one, because ultimately this is Total Drama Island, and I haven't seen the show in 2 years, so take this with a grain of salt, but she's definitely an S tier character. I love everything about MK. There is this thing, I feel it's mean to say, I don't really like the times where they have MK say quote unquote like Gen Z slang, but it isn't Gen Z slang like at all. I'm not Canadian. I don't think anyone is unironically or ironically saying, here's the dealio for really. Sorry, I don't think anyone's actually like saying that at all. She is quite dorky, and I like that the second season kind of explores that, and I would really like to see more of loser MK in the third season. I obviously would love to see MK go far. I know I sound like a LARPer when I'm saying this, because so many people want MK to make Final 3, but I do want MK to make Final 3. I really enjoy her snarky, like, kind of whippy attitude. I don't know what the right word is. She's just a very interesting and fun character to watch, particularly in season 2, not so much in season 1. She's, I think at first, a lot of people found MK annoying from what I remember in the Total Drama fandom. A lot of people found MK annoying. MK wasn't that popular until the second season. But I was always a huge fan of MK. I think on my very first watch, I was kind of annoyed by her, but I still loved her regardless, because she's just really funny. I don't know how else to put this. She's just hilarious. I don't know. I really enjoyed her friendship with Julia. I already talked a bit about it, and their alliance. Would love to see more of their antics in season 3, and I keep saying that I hope to see this in season 3, I hope to see that in season 3, because I'm trying to manifest a season 3. Is it probably going to happen? I don't doubt that we'll get some more Total Drama Island. I think it's just a matter of when. It's unfortunate it's taking so long. I would love another Total Drama season. It was such a fun show. It's been my hyperfixation since I was 13. I found it when I was like 13, and I've loved it ever since, 13, 14. As I was saying about MK, I would really love to see what she could do without being tied to Julia's hip. I feel like, unfortunately, again, because Julia's a writer's pat, a lot of characters got derailed, and unfortunately MK was a victim of that. I do like the idea that her and MK are the only people who can stand each other, which I think is kind of cool. I really do enjoy their friendship, and I remember for my birthday, my friend actually drew a picture of MK for me on my birthday, because that's how much I love MK, and I also have a cat. I have 2 cats. One of them is named MK, and she's a black and white cat. If I can find a picture of my cats, that's good. I'll put it on screen as I'm editing this. Hopefully future editor Hannah will do that. Really enjoyed MK. Like, I wish I could tell you how much I love her. I'm really sorry, guys. I see the potential Axel can have. It's a meh for me. Just a bit in front of Caleb. I don't dislike her, but I don't really like her either. Now, she's a cool character, and I love her design, and I see the potential she could have. Ultimately, she doesn't stand out to me. I really hated Rip Axel when I first saw it. I remember religiously going on TikTok and just viciously liking every Rip Axel hate post I could see. And I never thought there would be a day that would come in my life where I would say this, but her and Ripper, they kind of grew on me. I can't lie. They kind of grew on me, though. I think it's because of the fan art I've seen. Also, the fanfic, 16 People in the Beach House, which changed my opinion on a lot of different characters. It's the reason I don't hate Caleb as much as I probably originally did. But Axel, unfortunately, she didn't really stand out to me. She's not a bad character by any means, but she's just not my favorite, because I feel like people like her for the potential she has rather than the actual character she is. It was nice to see her make it far in the second season, but unfortunately, in the middle of it, they kind of went from focusing on her as a character to solely tying her to Ripper's hip. I don't think we saw much of Axel after her and Ripper got together. I think they were just their own conjoined whatever, like they were kind of just the same character after a certain point, at least from what I remember. I mean, there were moments here and there where she did her own thing, but ultimately she did just end up constantly being attached to Ripper's hit, essentially. Which, this. If I had a penny for every time Total Drama Island had a female character with so much potential, and instead of exploring these female characters as individual autonomous beings, they, and I know it's like, oh, it's just a cartoon, I know, but come on, like if you're trying to be a more diverse and representative season, please stop making your female characters who have so much complexity and opportunity to just grow and develop. Can you guys, please, for the love of God, stop giving them romantic partners for no reason? Like, and I think, okay, to an extent, we see a softer, more vulnerable side to Axel when it comes to her and Ripper. They both kind of grow as characters because they're in a relationship with each other. Granted, we don't see much of that, but you could make the argument. And I don't want to talk about Priya before I actually get to her section, but Priya's character is completely butchered. We don't get anything good from her, or anything good comes to her development because she's with Caleb. If anything, I can't. I'm gonna get to it. But I really wish Total Drama Island would stop putting these female characters, these girls with. I sound like an alpha male like podcast thing when I use the word females. God, I need to stop using. A lot of people have like an ick when people use the word females. I don't use it in the way that it is used nowadays. I wish it would stop putting these very powerful women, or women with great potential, with like these like why is a relationship your first thing you want to do with these characters? Why did Axel have to get with Ripper, and why did Priya have to get with Caleb? Because I could see there being so many other things you could do. I don't think either of the characters need their relationships to develop themselves as people. We're moving on to Emma. Emma is a very likable character. Unfortunately, because she made it quite far in season 1, she was one of the characters to get booted early in season 2. Which I think is unfortunate, because even if she made it far last season, I would love to see her potential without Chase in the picture. And I know that might be a bit difficult to do because her character is practically tied to Chase. Again, this is like the third time. This is like the third character whose development is mostly tied to a man. Is it just me? Am I too woke? I'm probably too woke. But when it comes to likability, I did like Emma. I actually really like Emma. Like, I really love her character. And a lot of people find her annoying or think she... For some reason, there's this argument that Emma overreacted. And I've seen it on Reddit and Twitter. And I'm at a loss for words. Because... And this is someone who likes... I'm saying this as someone who likes Chase as a character. He's very funny to watch. Morally speaking, he is horrible. Terrible. I would like to see a more deeper side to all of these characters. I've always... Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is because I'm a Shira and an Owl House fan. But seeing kids shows kind of look into these deeper, more humane sides to characters, I've always really appreciated that, because I feel like, I don't know how to explain it. I appreciate that there's a bit of realism, and children aren't treated like they're completely stupid. And I really wish Total Drama would treat their viewers kind of like they're smarter. And I don't know. And when I say that, I feel like exploring the complexities that come with a dynamic such as like Emma and Chase, or Priya and Caleb, or Priya and her parents, which I talk about in my analysis video, I would have really appreciated if any of that was explored beyond the surface level. I hope if we get third season that Emma really gets to rip it into Chase that what he did was wrong, and maybe Chase could... I don't know, people say that it's not really possible for a character like Chase to have a redemption arc entirely, and I suppose that's true, and people are like, oh, well, it's Total Drama Island, you can't take anything seriously. It's a kid's cartoon, you can't take anything seriously. And yes, you're right, but why are you watching this video then? I'm joking. But I don't know, I really want to see a deeper side to all these characters. That's why I really enjoyed the fanfic 16 People in the Beach House. It's a very enjoyable fanfic. It's kind of like a post-season 2 fanfic, and I really like Total Drama fanfics, or just fanfics that kind of take place from where a show ended. Because I'm not really a big fan of, like, AU fanfics. I like more post-season fanfics. Sorry, this is about Emma. But yeah, I feel like I really like Emma. Probably more than I should. And she's a very likable, fun, bubbly girl. I feel like apart from Bowie, there's no one who I can really say... Maybe Nichelle. I don't know. Maybe could have good social play. Emma was supposed to be, like, the social, nice, popular girl, and Julia's, like, the mean, conniving one. And I feel like in season 2 they proved that she wasn't people's person. I'm like, I would like to see Emma work on that, potentially as an arc for the third season. I'd also like to see her explore her identity when it's not tied to Chase. I really hope we get to... And I sound like a larper when I say this, because there's so many people who say they want Emma, Damien, and MK to make it a finale, but a finale like that I would really enjoy. Ultimately, Emma was very likable, and I enjoyed her. I love her design. Her pink sneakers are so cute. Hope all these characters get a redesign. I'm not a big fan of the orange sweater, but ultimately, she has an adorable design. Please let her hair down, Port Drama Writers, if you're seeing this. I have like a tweet I might put on screen now, maybe just as I'm yapping, towards writers that I kind of like. Probably what? Outfits that I had an idea for, sorry. Because I made a post. I made 2 posts, actually, for redesign ideas. And I might put it on the screen now, as I'm talking about it. For Emma, I would like to see her in mostly maybe pinks next year. I really just want to see a new design. I know usually they don't do redesigns or different outfits. It would be something new and refreshing, and I feel like visually it kind of changes the character quite literally because they're wearing different clothes, but also it can kind of align with whatever change you're going to set for these characters. For example, when Lauren came back this season, she was normal girl, right? She tried to be normal girl, and she had her old orange strip on. So maybe something similar for all the characters where they change their outfits to align with who they are now going into this 3rd season. Something like that would be nice. And I would say definitely, I'm not a big fan of the orange sweater Emma wears. I don't know why they gave Emma orange. I guess to stand out. But I don't know. Out of all the characters, I think her design is one of the ones I like the most. Moving on to Lauren. Lauren, similar to Axel, whilst I really love her design and love the potential of what she could be, ultimately she doesn't stand out to me. She's not a bad character by any means, and I'd love to see more of her next season, specifically more of her interacting with MK. Ultimately, she didn't stand out to me. She was more of a gimmicky character in both seasons. I did like that they tried to give her a bit of complexity. I remember seeing this like deleted scenes of her protecting Z in season 1 episode, what was it, 2? Of the reboot, the pirate episode, and she protects Z from like getting hit before she gets kicked off, which I thought was really nice and really humanized her character. And whilst I get it's Total Drama Island, I do like it when they humanize their characters, if that makes sense. Like, they seem like actual teenagers. Scary Girl, or Lauren, is the furthest portrayal from any Gen Z teenager. She is just a gimmicky character. She doesn't really reflect what a Gen Z goth girl would be, in my opinion. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's actually like her that people are actually scared by. People usually don't take the edgy kid seriously because often, you know, that's just how it is, right? So no one ever really takes them seriously. Because style-wise, I would see someone in Gen Z wearing that, but I don't know. She was good, don't get me wrong, pretty fun to watch, and she really was a challenge beast, but as I've said for Damien and Axel, due to the writers' pets being Julia and Priya getting most of the screen time, characters, again, like Lauren, kind of get booted off early. Lauren, I feel particularly sad for because she doesn't get to make it far in either season, which I think is quite unfortunate. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, she is just a gimmick character. Would like to see an alliance with her, MK, and Julia as the kind of outcast of the reboot cast. I think like that would be very interesting. Having, obviously, next season, it's like maybe 3 people picking teams, and Julia picks MK, then Scary Girl, because Scary Girl's the only person who'd probably want to work with them the most out of everyone else. I don't think Scary Girl would be particularly keen on working with Julia, but she's the only one who didn't really pick a team, I guess because she couldn't in the finale, but she does kind of interact with MK in the finale. Moving on to Michelle, again, similar to Axel and Scary Girl, I really did like her. I thought she was a fun character, but ultimately she didn't stand out to me, but I'll put her here. I liked her. I liked the design. I like what they did with her in the 2nd season, and I was sad to see her go as early as she did. I think everyone was kind of expecting her to last longer, and the writers kind of played with that expectation, setting up to be this, like, good finalist. Don't need to boot her so early. It was really unfortunate to see, and again, she's victim of Julia being a writer's pet. I think even more so than Axel and Lauren, kind of on par with Damien. Both of them got really butchered because Julia was just such a writer's pet. And it's really unfortunate. Moving on to Chase, I actually really enjoyed, probably more than I should have. I think I put Jace just in front of Damien. Bowie, I really enjoyed Bowie. I'd put him just in front of Julia. He's my 2nd favorite character of the whole reboot. He was kind of the yin to Julia's yang. I really liked their enemies dynamic. I would love to see them be more frenemy-like in the 3rd season. Obviously, I don't think they'll ever be very close friends. They're both too evil for that. But I don't know why everyone thinks they really hate each other. I think they only really hate each other in the 2nd season. I feel like they kind of got along, but maybe that's just because Bowie was manipulating her. But, I don't know, I really like Bowie. Obviously, he was one of the... I genuinely mean it when I say I think he's the reboot's best antagonist and strategist. I also think that out of every single Total Drama villain, he is the best. Am I glazing? Yeah, a bit. But am I wrong? No, I would say it's pretty fair to say he's a really good antagonist. He's probably one of the best. I think he's up there, if not actually better than Alejandro and Heather. Is that controversial to say? Yeah, but do I care? No, I stand on what I believe. I think that he is better than Heather and Alejandro, and if you disagree with me, I mean, you're free to talk about it in the comments. I mean, please do. I love it when people comment on my videos. It makes me very happy. But I don't know. I feel like I really liked where he started and where he ended. I don't think I'm too disappointed. I do wish he lasted longer, but I do feel like it's better he got out earlier than later. I feel like he was one of the few characters who, because he left early, it was actually a benefit because his character didn't get butchered. I think I could say the same with Emma and Damien. I'm mad that they got out early, but also I see positives because at least they didn't stick around like until the show became really like, I don't know, a lot of characters got signed towards the end of the reboot. Now I'm gonna just talk about Wayne and Raj. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna be talking about Wayne and Raj kind of together because they're kind of a package deal. I really love Wayne and Raj as like a friendship. I really think everything about them is wholesome. How they're both just so supportive of each other. They never really argue. I don't think there's ever been any actual conflict between the two. There's been conflict between Bowie and Raj, but there hasn't been between Wayne and Raj. I don't think they've ever had an argument. Is it bad for me to say I'd love to see them fight over something in the third season? I don't know, but I don't know. Is it in character for them to do that? I mean, I think it would be over something dumb. But hey, I mean, some people in the Total Drama fandom liked that there wasn't like a breakup or like some stupid fight or something like that. And even the trio of Raj, Bowie, Wayne, that kind of friend group is it's quite healthy and I enjoy it. I would really like to see Raj come out of his shell and see what he can do without being tied to Wayne, without being tied to Bowie. I'd love to see more of him, if that makes sense. Wayne, I think Wayne could probably go off early. We know that Wayne's the more dumber Raj, the more dumber hockey bro out of the two. Raj is the more smarter one. I don't know. I really would like to see a bit more of a sassy side to Raj. I feel like I really just want Raj to make it to the finale. Either Raj, MK, Damien, or Emma, I would like to see make it to the finale. I would like Wayne to go off early just because he won already, and I feel like Wayne kind of had to learn how to deal without being with Raj. I think it would be nice to see how it would be on the other end, especially considering both Bowie and Wayne wouldn't be around, so they wouldn't have any of each other. Yeah. So I'm gonna put these two on the same one. I'm gonna say, likability wise, they were quite likable. Millie. Now, sorry, I know Millie is really overhated. I know people hate on Millie because she talks bad about Priya's parents. I think in a way she is justified for what she said, but I don't appreciate the way she went about it. The reason I'm kind of gonna hold back on my thoughts about Millie and Priya is because I do feel like I'm gonna be going into it in my analysis video. I want to save a lot of my thoughts for that. So I am already gonna talk about this in my video. I don't really want her to make it far in the third season. I feel like she's already made it far in season 1. I don't know. I guess it would be interesting to see what she'd do about Priya, if Priya is the early view and she makes it to merge or something. Similar to Raj, I'd like to see what she would do about her best friend. Similar to Priya, I'm going to save my thoughts. I think she's a likable character. I like Priya. I don't like how she was handled. I don't like that she's a writer's pet. For Julia, at least Julia was scheming, whatever. Julia had her whole thing with being manipulative and scheming, keeping herself on the show, whatever. Priya had Caleb. Priya had no reason, not one, as the winner of last season, to make it to the final 4 twice. Not one reason. Not one good reason, anyways. Why is she still here? I don't know. I hope she's an early boot. I love Priya. She's a likable character. I hope she gets the early boot. I'm sorry. I'm gonna save more thoughts later. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Z's voice actor does an incredible job playing Z. I think out of all the characters in the reboot, he has the best performance. With that being said, I'm so sorry. I wanted to love Z. And a lot of people find him fun, but I didn't care for Z. It's just a personal preference. He wasn't my cup of jam, my cup of tea, whatever you want to call it. Wasn't my favorite. Wasn't bad. I don't think I truly hate anyone in this thing. Like, even Millie, I don't hate Millie. I just mildly dislike Millie. Millie, sorry. Mildly dislike, I don't hate. Ripper. Hi, it's Editor Hannah here. Unfortunately, the original footage I had, long story short, it has been lost. So, my thoughts on Ripper, again, as I've said. Essentially, I didn't really like Ripper. out of all of the reboot cast, he was my least favorite, and I feel for good reason. I don't feel much explanation is needed anyways, but ultimately his whole archetype of the fart, that didn't really appeal to me, obviously, and it just wasn't my thing. I didn't find it funny. I think if they had just stuck with him being a parody of Andrew Tate supporters rather than a fart, I feel like that would have been more beneficial, and it would have been more reflective of Gen Z. But for what it's worth, Ripper, specifically Ripper and Axel as a ship, have kind of grown on me. So I'll give the writers that. Ultimately, I don't hate any of these characters. Dislike some of them in some regards, yeah. But do I hate them? No, I think this cast is actually very likable, and even the lowest, which are Millie and Ripper, I only dislike due to the handling. I mean, Ripper actually is one of the only characters I dislike for his personality alone. Millie's personality isn't unbearable, but it's more of the way she's handled by writers that put her in the position that she's in. But yeah, this is it. So this is the kind of exact order of who I like most to least. I'm seeing if there's any adjustment needed. I think I might like Priya more. Nah, I don't. Chase, yeah, more than Damien. Oh, I feel bad. I'm gonna put Z a bit higher. I think I like him more than Axel. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my opinions. I know my opinions aren't the most unique when it comes to this cast. However, this is my thoughts, and I would say thank you for watching. I think this is about it. If you want me to elaborate further, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm more than happy to respond. I do appreciate when you guys comment. My Rhea video did pretty well when I made that, so I am thinking of doing a Disventure Camp version if you want to see that, and I will probably do it for the newest season. So I really need to catch up with, because I've recently been rewatching All Stars. I remember giving up on the show after All Stars. I haven't seen it since, but I've recently been rewatching All Stars. So if you are interested in that, stay tuned. And the Rhea analysis video is also currently being written. I'm scripting that. This was an unscripted video. So yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes my thoughts. Go support this show if you haven't already by streaming it officially. I feel like, despite my critiques, I think the writers, voice actors, everyone who worked on this deserves this. Yeah, that's about it. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.